Hello, and welcome to Talking with Famous People. My name is Host Eric. I'm the host of So Named Show, and I'm here this evening with famous person Hami. I would like to talk first, I think, this evening about a subject that I'm having trouble remembering at the moment, but that I knew clearly coming into this video what it was. And that's right. I want to talk about an ESFP ENTP relationship with a female ENTP and a male ESFP, namely my daughter and her boyfriend. I wanted to think about this, but I've currently typed her boyfriend as, although I'm not 100% certain about it at the moment. And I thought we'd do a Socionics intertype about that. So, the two types in question. The ESFP goes SEFI-TENI. So this is a male version of JC. She is an ESFP, and Miguel is as well. Like JC, Miguel is not especially talkative, at least not around me. But Delilah is very clearly much more in love with this boyfriend than any previous boyfriend. She's gone through several boyfriends and usually keeps them kind of at arm's length. Isn't really together, you know? I mean, she's with them and she's not behaving inappropriately to the exclusion of the relationship, but she's not, her heart hasn't really been in. Her heart was kind of in her first relationship when she was 14. She got with a boyfriend named Darby, and they were together for quite a while, like a year, and she was very much in love with him and ended up leaving him anyway because, I don't know, she was ready to move on or something. It was good that she did leave. It wasn't a healthy relationship for her, I don't think. He was just a little too crazy, you know, a little too ESTP. So anyway, and boyfriends since have come and gone without really making much of an impression on her in the fashion that Miguel has. So they've been going on now for quite a while, I guess, Miguel and Delilah, and are attached at the hip. So the question is, what are the long-term prospects for their relationship? Well, right off the bat, we see you've got two extroverted perceivers together. So they're both going to be interested in stuff happening, going out, making stuff happen. Right now, they went out to play Pokemon Go, and you know, they seem to, they're here a lot sometimes, just making stuff happen amongst themselves, I suppose. And then, you know, I hear them laughing and playing computer and watching films and stuff, and you know, doing other things that couples do. I don't hear that part. I'm usually out here. But, you know, that kind of stuff. But they go out a lot, too. And they go out, and I know they associate with other young people their age. So I think that in that regard, they're a good fit. Neither of them is too much of a homebody for the other one. Now, that's a short-term benefit, I think, though. I think in a long-term relationship, when people get a little bit older and they're no longer quite so interested in socializing, or at least going out and socializing. I mean, it would be ridiculous for me to say that, right? Because I'm obviously very interested in socializing. I come on here and talk about stuff. Sometimes I'm on a topic like this where it's more of a soliloquy, but other times it's back and forth. So, I mean, you don't outgrow that, but it evolves into different forms, I think. with Delilah and Miguel right now, they're very much into spending time with their same age peers, as people her age tend to be interested in. So that's going to go well with them. His second slot is FI, and her second slot is, of course, TI. So that's going to work okay if they're in agreement, which they have been pretty much so far. I haven't seen them fight or anything. Miguel seems to defer to her on thinking points without much of a fuss, and I think Delilah likes that. He's not argumentative at all. He thinks abstract stuff is kind of a waste of time, I think. But he's capable of hanging out and talking about it, right? But because he's got TE in the third slot, he's about taking the steps necessary to do things as a role function. And in fact, he does that. I see he's got a very orderly kind of game plan thing where he has his college things done and planned out and stuff like that. For community college first and moving on from there. And it's a conventional path, not driven by any particular abstract whatever, but it's fairly orderly as a life path. Now, in his fourth slot, he's got NI, which means he's subject to false truths because it's in the fourth slot. It's difficult for him. Or he's subject to, more accurately, I think, he's subject to not worrying about things regarding on the vector of truth, which is a bit tricky in regards to decision making. But if, in fact, you're just proceeding along an existing path, then you don't need to evaluate the truth of it very often, assuming things don't change too much. And that's sort of the reality of the process between SE and NI is, are you proceeding with a truth you've already discovered, or are you discovering new truths for which you'll proceed later? And with the SE NI, with the SE in the dominant slot, then it's going to be a prioritization on proceeding in paths already in place rather than on discovering new paths or evaluating the wisdom of those paths again. Of course, this is something that is going to be a complementary aspect for Delilah and Miguel because Delilah has plenty of possibility generating capacity and in fact is always coming up with new things she wants to do. Like right now she's playing that Pokemon Go game. She's that age, ENTP female probably makes her even more FE heavy. She's a better example of somebody who's made some progress in FE than I was at her age for sure. She's, as a girl, has a little less leeway to be crazy ENTP. She's expected to handle herself somewhat more gracefully. But she was very not graceful in middle school and very aspirational in the FE area. Wanted to be popular very badly, but didn't know how to do it. Was clumsy at it. And it, cost her. Well, that's, when you got FE in the third slot, it takes you a little while to get the hang of it. However, she's a lot smoother now than I am in general, probably. At least she's less likely to make a mistake, a big mistake. She's more careful. So, and the amount of care that an ENTP exhibits, I think, has a lot to do with the amount of hate they got in stages of their childhood. And on some level, people might say, oh, that amount of hate we're giving them then is good because it's making them more careful and less annoying in that ENTP way. But really, it's making us angry. But regardless, so she's got that issue. Miguel seems more socially graceful, at least in the sense that he seems kind of uncomplicated. And that FI in the second slot means he's going to naturally be quite good at the FE stuff, be quite likable. And uh, so I think that's a benefit. They can complement each other in that regard. So in a lot of ways, I see those two as a good pairing, a really good pairing. I think the conflict would come eventually in matters of prioritization. I think when it gets so that it's not a satisfying relationship anymore, if it were to get there, it would be because Delilah would only be able to help Miguel with his understanding of truth through NE, but she wouldn't really be able to communicate that to him very well. Now, Miguel, he is drawn to people and he finds most comfortable and trustworthy a person, somebody with an SI in the dominant slot. Well, Delilah's got SI in the fourth slot, so that's a bit of an issue. Another possible bit of an issue is simply Delilah has some sort of trouble with her feelings, such that her obliviousness towards her feelings causes her to do something stupid. That's possible. I mean, like, it's hard to know because ENTPs, they might be able to distinguish one feeling like I feel like yeah, but not really determine what's causing it and make it a link and make bad decisions sometimes. So there's that possibility. Another way that this relationship might break down would be if Miguel's seventh slot TI starts to drive Delilah crazy because he doesn't require enough logical consistency in his justifications for things, and when Delilah pushes him to give her explanations that make good logical sense, he can't, won't, and thinks it's unfair of her to ask him to do that, and that could be maybe potentially the most difficult problem. I think that with Miguel with his FI as his tool function and Delilah with the TI as a tool function, it potentially can produce huge amounts of conflict because they each have the other at the seventh slot. Delilah doesn't know how to use her feelings for anything. However, it should be noted that I'm not exactly sure how you use feelings anyway, and I haven't really gotten a really great answer on that. So I do know, well, the best answer I got is Mega Bros, which is sadness lowers your happiness point, so that it's easier. It takes less good stuff to make you happy. Then you feel better just from having been sad. Just have the sadness be not pressing on you makes you feel good. Crying makes you feel good, clears you out, And I agree with those assessments of that. But that's a fairly minor utility, I guess. So that's my thoughts on the ESFP and ENTP relationship, the relationship in which my daughter Delilah is engaged, she being the ENTP female, he being the ESFP male, backwards of what you might normally expect. Any thoughts? Open to the floor now as the famous people have begun to accumulate since I put up the video. Let's see. We've got Hami, JD, QB Sauce, waiting for name. Any comments? Okay, thank you for watching, and thank you for being here. Those of you who were here, those of you who are at home, now is a good time to get up and walk right to that fridge, find yourself a nice piece of cheese, and consume it. You deserve it.